We'll bring the Board of Commissioners meeting for March 7th, 2025 to order. Thank everybody for coming this evening. We ask Commissioner Cook to lead us in an invocation and pledge. Please remove your hats and stand.
May we pray? Father God, we thank you for allowing us to live in such a great country and such a great county. We ask that you give us wisdom and guidance in how we are to proceed tonight with all aspects coming before us. We ask this all in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook.
Yes, sir.
Are there any adjustments, amendments to the agenda?
Move approval. Second.
Williams, Cook. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We move into the public comments section. Somebody lowered my chair. Felt like I was sitting on the floor. All right,
My computer's gone. There you go. Thank you.
all right. You all know the rules. Each speaker may speak for 3 minutes. Begin by stating your name and your address. Comments shall be civil, no personal attacks, obscenity, derogatory or slanderous remarks, or comments regarding candidacy for any public office. Speakers should not expect the commissioners to engage in dialogue or answer questions. This is your time to tell us how you're feeling about the issues in the county. That we will start. First name I have is Audrey Schreiber. Not Schreiber. Dang, I was right the first time.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Audrey Schreiber, and I'm here today to request that Brunswick County address its ongoing clean water crisis for all of its residents. I speak in solidarity with the Brunswick County residents, the Brunswick County NAACP, and other community groups asking that the county extend water lines to all neighborhoods and connect residents who want access to county water. I work at Earth Rights International, an international human rights organization operating in the United States, in South America, and Southeast Asia to protect human rights for communities in those regions and beyond. As an organization that works on international human rights issues around the world, we're deeply concerned about the ongoing water crisis here in North Carolina and in Brunswick County. Water is a human right. Black residents in Brunswick County are experiencing a disproportionate lack of access to county water. Many residents in historically Black neighborhoods in the county are reliant on well water because county water fees are too expensive and/or county water lines do not extend to their neighborhoods. Some report that their well water, because they're reliant on well water, smells foul, is polluted with sediment, and discolors their clothing and hair. Because of this, many buy bottled water, which is costly and often requires personal sacrifices. Residents share that they often have to choose between buying bottled water or medication. Ms. Geraldine Goodman, one of your neighbors, shares, "I choose. Is it my medicine this week or a bottle of water this week? So I choose my medicine because I think that is going to keep me a little more healthy. And if I don't take my medicine, who knows what's going to happen? So what do? Where do I go?" It's unacceptable that people in this county are choosing between paying for medication or buying clean water on a weekly basis. Brunswick County must prioritize clean, safe drinking water for residents like Ms. Geraldine Goodman. Many residents who live on streets without water lines also face safety risks because they do not live near a fire hydrant, even though they are required to pay fire fees as part of their property taxes. In the last 10 years, in fact, there have been over 600 structural fires that are not within 1,000 feet of a fire hydrant, and this was reported by Fire Services Administrator Malcolm Smith. This is a fire safety issue, this is a water access issue, and this is a human rights crisis. It doesn't have to be this way. Brunswick County is one of the wealthiest counties in North Carolina, yet the county has so far inadequately addressed this issue. I'm here to amplify Brunswick County residents who are asking that the county extend water lines so they can hook up to county water. We urge that the county apply for the water infrastructure grants available through the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality before April 30th, 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schreiber. Sabrina Beal. Ms. Beal, please make sure you state your address
Yes,
for the
sir.
record.
My name is Sabrina Gardner Beal. I live at 2988 Brown Road in Bolivia, North Carolina. Thank you, Board of Commissioners, Brunswick County, for having us tonight to hear what we need to say about the water in this county. Thank you for the opportunity to speak regarding the need for water lines in our community and areas of Brunswick County that have been forgotten. As a young girl, I have been coming here for the past 5 decades, and the water has drastically changed from what it used to be. The taste, color prior to the new residential developments being built have churned our grounds and changes this. I am currently a resident who now lives with PFAS in my water, where me and others are told that they are not at dangerous levels despite there being no definitive research or data to prove that this is not harmful to our bodies. We have yellow clothing, yellow washing machines, yellow sinks, toilets, and bathtubs in numerous homes needing to buy Lysol gels constantly to keep them white. We buy drinking water weekly for cooking, brushing our teeth. We shower in this water daily, unable to take tub baths and see the resin build up in a 2-day period. We have no knowledge or statistics to prove if this water is damaging to our skin, our hair, or our nails. And for those who still use it to brush their teeth, how it can impact our health. God only knows what the insides of some people look like from using it, the health conditions it has caused, and more. People of this community struggle with health issues like cancers, rheumatoid arthritis, shaking disorders, birth defects, and more. We gather here today to appeal to the Commission Board, asking that allocated funding for Brunswick County, water and infrastructure be immediately used and dispatched to connect piping in all areas passed by. We as a community have a God-given birthright to clean water and air and water supplies. We thank you for your attention to this matter, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Beal. Paul Parker.
I'd like to acknowledge I want to speak for the group to give me 8 minutes rather than 3.
Is the board favorable to that? You okay with that?
I'm okay. It don't matter to
Go
me.
ahead, Mr. Parker.
Thank you. My name is Carl Parker. I'm the president of the Brunswick County National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. I live in Leland, 1034 Parkwood Drive, Northeast. It's been a while since I've been here, and I noticed some of the arrangement in the seating is different. Chairperson now is Mike Forte, one of my best of friends that like for me to shut the hell up. But we're back here on the same situation that I left on, and I said to Randy Thompson at the time that I'll be back. And here I am with the group with me. We're still fighting for 22 years of this, where I stand on the shoulders of others who fought ahead of me. And we're still fighting for the same water issue. I have in my hand, and this is safe drinking water for all Brunswick County. And that's what it means, because we are the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We believe that all people have color. We believe that all people ought to have safe drinking water. We don't believe in going to an intersection and stop with the water. We asking the county to pick up and begin to serve all people. That what we've been fighting for an awful long time. And if any of you are on well water up there in front of me, raise your hand. Then if you raise your hand, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if you're not on well water, then let's get an education about what well water have done and still doing for people, that we cannot use it for all situations. We have babies just like anybody else have babies. We don't want them to be washed in rusty, contaminated water. We want to have some clean water, not only just to drink it, but to wash. We want our women to be able to wash their hair at home without going to the beauty shop all the time just to get the hair washed. We want folks to be able to wash their clothes and without standing the risk of how dingy their clothes may look and how irony they may look from the iron that is in the water. Certainly iron was good in certain cases because I grew up on iron well water. That's why when we had 200-pound fertilizer bags come in burlap bags, we could handle them. But we don't have that anymore. We want to be able to handle 50-pound bags as well as we handle 200-pound bags. So we want to get some clean water within our homes. As I drive across this county and see the condition that many of the homes are in, because much of it is the well water, much of it is because they've lost hope, that they don't think they'll be able to get clean water. I believe that hope is something that is invisible. It sees those things that's invisible, but with prayer, it can achieve those things that's impossible. Same as though that for 22 years, many feels like today that many of these things are impossible to get clean drinking water. I believe that this board here have the ability to put clean drinking water into every household that's here. I think by getting grants that it doesn't cost the county to get a grant, to bring lines down and hook it up to those houses free of charge. I understand, I want to make sure that's free of charge so that they'll be able to get some clean drinking water. And I'm asking this county, while you're doing the grant, we ask that you will do immediately, put up $100 million that we can get started with this clean drinking water. Get the engineers involved. Let the engineer begin to start getting the maps out and showing how we'll get that water there. But let me be involved in some of those maps, because we don't want to be fooled or hoodooed of where you're getting started with clean drinking water. We want to make sure that clean drinking water is for those people that we'll continue to fight for, that has been marginalized for so long. If I hope you can understand my drift about that, because when I'm standing before you, and I've stood before you many times before, and you have given me some opportunity to work with some of the person that's on the board, and I'm glad you did. It gave me the opportunity, because then I know about how you work. And everything got to come from these five that I'm standing in front of. So I'm asking you of the five to bring us in some clean drinking water. I believe when Pat Sykes said to me that y'all need to learn how to help yourself. And I believe that we do need to learn how to help yourself. That's why we're here today. We got a lot of folks out here helping themselves. My pastor have told me, say, yeah, I can catch more flies with honey than I can with vinegar. And I said, I think that theory has gone along too long, because I'm not in the business of catching flies. I'm in the business of using honey as a purity to clean up those things where flies might dwell around it, because my God doesn't dwell in any unclean places, but he dwelled in a place where he's the chief maker of the honeycomb, and he's sweeter than honey. So I'm asking you to come on board and let my God dwell those places where you can be able to say that whenever you go to church and serve in spirit and in truth, and know that the God that you're serving is a just God. So be just in the way that you begin to treat people as a whole. Let humanity stand loud and stand high and free. And we can say one day, as Martin Luther King say, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last. We know that we're free because liberty will be, as we say in that flag today, when we begin to put our hands on our hearts and begin to raise our hands up as a soldier and speak to the flag, but let's speak to human beings. Thank you much for listening to me. I'm glad that you were ready and had itching ears to hear from me, because I told you I'll be back. Thank you.
Charles Warren.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Charles Warren. I live at 229 Northeast 40th Street in Oak Island, North Carolina. I'm here today before you commissioners, requesting that you do something that, like Carl just said, as far as getting water for people that need it. Because a lot of these well waters are going dry because of the development that's been built next to them. So they have to wind up digging deeper wells, or they can't use the well. And so it's very difficult. So a lot of them have to go out and buy a lot of water. Water is very expensive these days. What happens when you purchase it, then they cannot afford to purchase their medicine. So a lot of people are getting sick with cancer, kidney diseases, high blood pressure, and then not only that, with the fire hydrants. We don't have fire hydrants in this area for a lot of these people. So what they wind up doing, they have to be spending a lot of extra money for insurances on their homes and things. And that is because no fire hydrant is in the area. So that's very difficult. And, you know, people, most of them are basically on fixed income, you know, so they just, not like a lot of you guys are, you know, most of you are millionaires, you know what I mean? So you sit up here but then you judge the other people that are basically trying to make do, trying to do something to make them their life well, so that they'll be able to live a free and prosperous life like everybody else. But I ask that you all do the right thing and start working as far as getting those grants. I think there are 3 grants that's available that you all can get, that you don't have to pay any money to have the other people get hooked up with this water. And that's one good thing for them. So thanks again, appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.
That concludes everybody that was on the list to speak. We'll be moving on. Thank you, everybody, for coming up and expressing your concerns. Approval of the consent agenda. Everybody have a chance to look over everything, I hope?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Marty? And you and Randy. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. We are up to presentations. We have a proclamation signifying National County Government Month in April. Commissioner Williams will be presenting that proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Proclamation designating April as National County Government Month in Brunswick County, North Carolina. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, parishes, and boroughs, serving more than 334 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties provide public health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more. And whereas Brunswick County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas, under the leadership of National Association of Counties President James Gore, NACO is demonstrating how focuses on three key areas during this unique moment in time and the central role of counties as intergovernmental partners: engagement and collaboration, research and innovation, and capacity building. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Brunswick County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim April 2025 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. Adopted this 17th day of March 2025, Mike Forte, Chairman, and I move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second. No, Randy.
Frank, Marty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sounded unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we have another. I'm gonna do this one myself because I like this. It's a proclamation for the Week of the Young Child. So I will come up and those, what is the name of the woman that's coming up to accept this? Come on up. I want to come on this side. Thanks for everybody being here. All right, proclamation designating April 5th through the 11th, 2025 as the Week of the Young Child. Whereas the first years of a child's life are the period the period of the most rapid brain development and lay the foundation for all future learning. And whereas our children, our future workforce, deserve the opportunity to build and develop effective communication, self-regulation, and problem-solving and conflict resolution skills. And whereas working families need sufficient high-quality spaces in early care and education programs, beginning at birth, to be available in the community. And whereas high-quality early care and education depends on high-quality early educators who ensure that children supported by families have the early experiences they need for a strong foundation. And whereas early educators need the ability to earn a family-sustaining wage that is commensurate with the required education and skills they bring to the complex and valuable work they do. And whereas high-quality early care and education programs provide important benefits to families, children, and our local economy. And whereas the Week of the Young Child is a time for Brunswick County to join Smart Start and the National Association of the Education of Young Children to thank and recognize our early educators and all that they do for our current workforce, our parents, and our future workforce. Now, therefore, we, the county commissioners of Brunswick County, do hereby proclaim April 5th through the 11th, 2025 as the Year of the Young Child, and encourage all citizens to support and invest in early childhood education. This, the 17th day of March, 2025, signed by me, Board Chairman. I move for approval.
I'll second.
Forte and Williams. With that, a vote please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. That I present to you your proclamation Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank all of you.
Kind of have you all kind of scoot more.
I didn't know they were on there. I might need one.
This side and that one.
They have to charge.
I'll stay.
Felt like the first thing.
Whatever you want us to do.
You got two commissioners.
I guess.
Be on the outside or inside? Okay.
And Commissioner, I have a little that for. All right, 1, 2, 3. 1. You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Emergency Medical Services Program presentation. Who's doing that? I don't have that in front of me. Oh, Lyle, you're doing this?
How's everybody this evening? Hey. So during our goals and objectives workshop, and at the last commissioners meeting, there was some questions about where we stood in some of our programs that we'd been approved for. And I wanted to come before you tonight and give you an update and at the end, get your permission to continue moving forward with some of the projects we're working on. First thing we'll talk about is our community paramedic program. As it was when it was originally approved, our goals were reduce opioid related deaths, link our opioid dependent patients with the appropriate services with the agencies that they needed to be in contact with to continue their treatment, and then provide a bridge to services with medication assisted treatment in that time period from the time we first encountered these folks until we're able to get them into a treatment program. And then, of course, our goal is prevent further overdose events by conducting outreach and offering service to people who have experienced an overdose. And within 72 hours of the overdose event, get one of our community paramedics in touch with or on site with that person to make sure they have the option to receive the services they need. Link individuals with substance use disorders to the appropriate services. And then, of course, provide that medication assisted therapy for up to 7 days while working on linking the individual to treatment. Currently, by state regulations, we can provide that service for 5 days. And then if we don't have them linked to a service through orders through medical direction, we can extend it for another 2 days to get those folks to it until they get to the treatment. Our timeline to date on this program, we hired the first community paramedic on December 2nd. That person has been hard at work making contact with other agencies, whether it be our treatment facilities, whether it be our sheriff's office and their anchor initiative and those type of programs to make sure we're all working together and understanding, what our goal is in this program. The protocols were developed and approved by Dr. Sherrod in January. Very next week, we sent those to the North Carolina Office of EMS for approval. We finally got that approval back on March 5th. And then, as I said, Erica's been meeting with service providers, doing training, and between her and Nick, ordering equipment and supplies to get things ready to be up and running. I've got some more stuff to talk about here about EMS in general, but ultimately I want to request approval from the commissioners to begin our post-overdose response treatment program services, as we're in a position now where we're ready to move forward with that program.
Is the rest that you have to present part of this?
Not of opioid, no, sir. It's just about EMS in general.
Need a motion?
Question, if I can. Okay, as you explained here, I think I heard you say that you have one community paramedic.
Yes, sir.
So moving forward, what is the goal?
The goal is actually applications for the second community paramedic position closed last Friday. So we're going to prepare to hire that second one so we can have coverage 7 days a week for at least 12 hours a day to do that. And then if anything that occurs after hours, when those folks are not on duty, that those would be referred to the community paramedics for follow-up on the next day.
Okay, so so that I understand your request then is to continue the program forward with hiring the additional paramedic, or is there something else?
The request is to start the medication-assisted therapy, your approval to start that medication-assisted therapy based on our approval from the state, and just get
Okay.
your approval on that. We're already in the position to be ready to hire that second person once we do the interviews, and along with a caseworker, EMS caseworker, that will also help coordinate those services with the patients that we need to get these patients in place with.
Originally, how many community paramedics were you budgeted to hire?
We were budgeted for 2. We had asked for 4. We were budgeted for 2 and a caseworker.
Okay.
So this would be what we're budgeted for.
Yeah, I'm good.
Any other questions? Anybody else? No.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
I'll second.
Second. Wow.
I'll defer to
Thompson,
Commissioner
Williams? All those in favor?
Cook. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Lyle, thank you for what you're doing, man. I know we've been talking about this for a long time, and I think it's gonna lower, a lot of things. It's gonna lower our traffic that we have. It's gonna keep us from tying up some trucks, and, it's gonna be cost effective. It's gonna help the community. It's going to, help people getting on their feet. It's gonna do a lot of good things for us. And so that being said, I really am glad that it's going and moving. Thank you for what you're doing, sir.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Lyle. You have more to go.
Yes, sir.
If you get it advanced.
There we go. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about just the EMS department in general now. As you can see, that's our call volume by calendar year since 2020. And then that's also our population increases during those same time periods. And with the exception of the 2021 era where our call volume greatly exceeded our population increase, we've been right in line with the population increase. Up until this last year, you see a minus 1.3%. And I think a lot of that has to do, you see below where Southport responded to 2,243 calls per the CAD data. And those are calls, not all of them, but probably about half of those calls are calls that came off of Brunswick County EMS with them putting a paramedic level truck in service. We're still in the process of where sometimes we're dispatched to the same calls, but normally our supervisors monitoring that real close, and if Southport's the closest unit, then we allow Southport to handle that call on their own versus sending 2 trucks to it to keep trucks in service. And so far, as of February 28, 2025, we were at 4,331 calls, which is versus that same time during 2024. That's showing a 9.5% increase in call volume for this year.
What do you attribute the big spike in 2021? Was that COVID related?
I think that was probably COVID related, and also the fact that, you know, when COVID started in 2020 and a lot of people couldn't go to work and they were working from home, a lot of folks that had beach homes came to the beach to live during that time, and a lot of them never went back. And I think that just, you know, that was an increase there that we were faced with, and COVID itself also, just that experience of people were scared and didn't know where to turn to for help sometimes. And a lot of times 911 was that best option for them. Our current EMS deployment model is 9 ambulances, 24 hours a day. Everybody's on 12-hour shifts. We also have 5 ambulances on 12-hour peak load shifts. We have 2 quick response vehicles on 24 hours per day, and then 1 shift supervisor that's on 24 hours per day. Over the months of November, December, and January, we had a 90% in-service rate. And that's, you know, the ambulances that were budgeted for versus what we had on the road. And what we saw there was with a 90% in-service rate, we also did some data on sick days and vacation days. And we had, during that time, we were down 10% of our folks out sick for various days during that time, and another 5% that were on scheduled vacation. So there was some overtime that was put in for folks to make sure, you know, we maintained a good high in-service rate for our ambulances. Training hours in 2024, every person in the system, which includes St. James, Southport, Sunny Point, and Bald Head Island, is required to have 34 hours of in-person training every year based on our education plan. During the year, and this is medical education, during the year, our total continuing medical education for the system was 9,001 hours. As I said, that covered about 160 system providers between all those agencies for an average of about 56.25 hours each. And some of that has to do with the specialty certifications that they maintain, such as advanced cardiac life support, PALS, which is pediatric advanced life support, and CPR. Depending on how your certification year rolls, then there's additional in the seat hours that you have to do during those years to maintain those certifications every 2 years. Our special teams training was 1,214 hours. Those hours were covered with about 22 active team members, and there's required annual hours for special teams of 16 hours per person. Most of that training, unless it's for some certification class that is scheduled, for a certain amount of day by the community college, most of that training is done off duty, where folks come in and do their training on their days off, so it doesn't affect EMS operations. Our top 4 busiest months for 2024 were July, August, October, and May. I was kind of shocked to see October as being number 3, but I'm thinking maybe that's when folks were here fishing, and that's potential for that. Our top 4 busiest days of the week were Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Friday and Monday really didn't surprise me. Friday, everybody's trying to get seen before the weekend if they feel sick, and then Monday is everybody just getting seen after they felt sick through the weekend. Our transports in 2024, we did a total of 14,342 transports. Brunswick Novant was our leading facility, followed closely behind by Novant New Hanover. Those 2 facilities are neck and neck every month is where we go. And a lot of that has to do with Brunswick Novant's in the center of the county, and they get a lot of folks that come there. And then, of course, with Novant New Hanover, a lot of the folks in Leland, which is a high population area, it's where a lot of people get their medical care on a daily basis, and they go over there. And then that was followed by McLeod, Seacoast, Dozier, and Grand Strand. And then the remaining transports were divided amongst 6 other hospitals as we transport to 11 hospitals in 4 counties and 2 states. Things that make Brunswick County EMS special. We provide pre-hospital antibiotics for sepsis, and we've also added that for open long bone fractures. We're the only system in southeastern North Carolina currently giving pre-hospital antibiotics for sepsis. We do rapid sequence intubation, which allows us to take a patient's airway if they're having trouble breathing to the point that they can't maintain their own airway, but would still have a gag reflex if you tried to give them an airway. So that allows us to intubate those folks and breathe for them. We have the Lucas CPR devices, which allows us to maintain continuous good compressions, chest compressions during cardiac arrest. We have power load stretcher systems on all of our ambulances, but I think 2, and those will be replaced out when our new trucks get here. And that has been a big help to our personnel, because it is, from what we've seen, it's been a real reduction in back injuries and from people lifting folks. And that's just an amazing device that allows our folks to stay safe. And then, of course, we have video laryngoscopes where we can actually look on the screen and see what we're looking at in somebody's throat when we're trying to do an intubation with. Other things that are coming soon, we're still working on our pre-hospital blood administration program. Our issue right now is obtaining our blood source, but we're still working on that with both Novant Hospital and some private agencies to see what we need to do about getting that blood. We are getting ready to start heparin administration for our STEMI, which is a ST elevation of myocardial infarction patients, which is a drug that allows us to prevent them from clotting additionally when they're having a heart attack, so we can give that to them prior to getting to the hospital. The medication assisted treatment for opioid abuse, which we had just talked about, which will be coming very soon now since you had that approval. And then we have 7 new trucks that are currently set to arrive in August of 2025.
Lyle, how's that looking, those 7 new trucks? Are we getting them in August or sometime maybe around there?
Well, we originally told us, well, they've given us several dates, but we actually went and visited the manufacturer plant last month. And We went down there with the assumption we were getting them in June, and they said August. But I feel confident on August at this point in time after visiting and talking to them. I know Nick's been in heavy conversation with them over the last week, and they've actually already started talking with Megan about the graphics. So if they're into that point, I feel like we're good for getting that since they're already looking at the graphics on them.
Thank you.
All right, and then one of the most important pages that we'll see, our cardiac arrest in 2024. We had 141 cardiac arrests that we attempted resuscitation on. Of those 141, we had return of spontaneous circulation on 50 of those patients, which is a 35.5% rate. The national average is 27%. And return of spontaneous circulation, we consider that when we have gotten a heartbeat back and it lasts for at least 20 minutes and we prepare that patient for transport to the hospital. Of those patients, cardiac arrest patients, we had 13 of those patients that were just discharged home. That's a 9.2% of our 141. The national average is 9.9%. I'd love to say I was at 9.9%, but that's not far off. And that's pretty good for a system that, in the grand scheme of things, for the most part of our county is a rural county. For those 13 folks right there, everything that y'all do in supporting EMS is worth everything that we have done. Those folks got to come back home, be with their family. For the other 50, there may have been other things that they did for folks. We may have gotten them to the hospital in time to be organ donors and things like that, where they saved other lives. I just don't have that data to know exactly what that resulted in. But for those 13, EMS services meant the world to them and their families. Are there any questions?
Any questions for that?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Let's drill back down into that 90% of your trucks that you're that you deal with, that you are in service with. So what does that mean? Actually, 10%. You would tell me on a normal day, how often do you park a truck?
On a normal day, it's maybe one per 24 hours. And it just depends on the call outs. The problem we have is, we've been working here recently to try to get the schedule full at least a month in advance. We got people that have to have vacation. The problem we run into when we have a problem with staffing the trucks normally is call outs and late call outs. For night shift, that they call out late in the afternoon, or if day shift, they call out, early in the morning before the shift, is determining how to fill those trucks when they call out at that point in time. We're calling around asking people, hey, can you come in and work, and that kind of stuff. And some folks will, some folks won't.
Right.
But we're looking at different programs, whether that be an on-call program.
Currently have on-call?
Do
you currently have an
We have an
on-call
admin on-call for off hours, but we do not have a current on-call program for the actual field provider to fill those slots. But that's something we have put in the budget for this year to see how that would work.
Okay, and what happens if you got a two-person truck and one person calls out? What do you do?
So if we have a two-person truck, one person calls out and one of those QRVs is in service, then we put one of those QRVs down and keep the ambulance in service, because we need that ambulance, to run and be able to transport.
And the QRVs, is that a supervisor?
Well, there's a supervisor on one QRV. The other two QRVs will either be one of the assistant supervisors or one of the senior paramedics.
Okay, so how many, on a daily basis, how many QRVs do you have rolling?
24 hours a day, if everything's good to go, there's 3 QRVs counting the shift supervisor,
Okay.
24 hours a day.
So your numbers that you're providing us with as far as your response times, you're including the QRVs as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, even though it's not a transport unit arriving at that residence?
Right.
Okay. All right. And my last question for you is you mentioned training and training hours with the college.
Right.
Does the college get FTE on your training?
Yes, sir. All of our training is run through the college. All of our continuing medical education is run through the college, where they're gaining FTEs on it.
Okay. And I don't recall going back to the slide, on average, how many hours is that a year?
On average, per person was about 56 hours a year.
Per
It's a
person.
total of 9,001 hours for the whole system for the
Okay.
year.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm good.
Any other questions? Pat, Marty?
Well, one thing I know has changed through the years is stabilization of the patient at the scene. And that's something you can bring to bear just about everything that would be in an ER on the scene with your trucks. And that's really a great thing. The other thing is, what is the general response time? It's a big county, a lot of stuff moving around. I know sometimes you'll have a truck on one side of the county that's got to be, repurposed. But generally speaking, what's the general response time on a truck?
So the general response time is less than 11 minutes overall. If you go and look, we've actually got it broken down, and I can provide you a link with this. I don't have it here with me tonight, but like for our echo level response times, I think that response time last time we looked at it, which is our most critical patients, was less than 10 minutes for those patients. And then for our Bravo response time, which is the lowest level of emergency response, those response times were up around the 11-minute average, but I can get you that information. And that's one of the things also that with the new image trend system we got up and running, we're starting to pull a lot of data out of that. And there will be dashboards that we're going to be able to provide to Megan where she can post some of that stuff that's not HIPAA regulated on.
I don't know about Durham and Chapel Hill, but 40 years ago, when I was down in Charleston, working down there, we had to have, I think it was an 8 or 10-minute response time, and that's in the city.
Right.
And that's like going from one block down to, maybe a mile away. So in other words, your response time is like what we would find in an urban area.
It's a little longer than an urban area, but not much longer. For a rural county, our response times are really good.
It's phenomenal. And also your survival rate and all that. So you got a lot of good things going for you.
And we got a lot of stuff that we want to push forward in the year to hopefully bring those survival rates up and bring those response times down, and some other things too with response that we want to look at for safety, because there's some responses that we respond to emergency traffic to right now that we want to cut back on that response to a non-emergency. And we're seeing that done in other systems nationwide, and to just decrease the risk to the general public, our staff, and still have the positive outcomes that we have with the patients.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, just one last thing. Whenever you provide us with the data
Mhm.
for the response, can you break it down with the QRVs included and then transport unit?
So what I can do with the old data is no. With the new data, yes, I can,
Okay.
I can break that down, because
Okay.
what it does now with the new system, we actually have a button that we can record information where it's first unit on scene.
Okay.
So we can look at that.
And
get you
I
that.
think that's what we're interested in.
Okay. All right.
Making sure we get a paramedic there
Right. Okay.
quick as we can.
Well,
Okay.
you've got the other thing too, because what you've got is you've got the fire departments a lot of times, and some of them have got, the defibrillators and everything they need. So a lot of times they can touch down even faster. So you've got somebody on the ground pretty quick.
Right. So all of our fire departments who first respond with us at a minimum carry an automatic external defibrillator and are able to do early defibrillation if they get on scene of a cardiac arrest. So yes, sir, that is correct. Anytime a Brunswick County EMS unit gets on scene, if it's a QRV or if it's one of our paramedic level transport ambulances, there'll be a paramedic there also. But that goal is exactly right. If those folks are first responding for us, they're normally there a lot quicker than that 11 minutes. I mean, obviously. because
And they
they're
establish
spread
the
out.
scene, get everything going. Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Manager Stone, you look like you have something you want to add. No, I saw you keep going towards the mic. I thought you wanted to add something. Anybody else?
No.
Thank you, Lyle.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right, administrative report, Manager Stone.
Okay, Mr. Nichols is here tonight and he made the original request. He can do this or I can either.
Come on down, John.
No time. That's not cost us anything.
Yeah, hopefully that's a good thing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. And so the request is the same request that was at the previous meeting. And so this is a request from H2Go. Bob Walker, Utilities Director for H2Go made the request that the county convey about 350 feet of 16-inch water main that crosses under Highway 17. It's the yellow line that's on the schematic on the screen or the overhead. And so this line was initially constructed to provide water from the county's water main over into the Brunswick Forest subdivision. Since that time, H2Go has constructed their own water plant, and water for Brunswick Forest is now being sent from that water plant. And so the county is not using that main any longer. H2Go can have use out of it. It would increase their fire flow, loop their system, and increase capacity within the system. The line was originally dedicated to the county by others. And so the request that's before you is to convey that line from Brunswick County to H2Go.
John, when we brought this up at the last meeting, I was the one who protested and kept asking, how much are we giving away?
Yes,
And
sir.
since come to find out, it really isn't a whole lot. How much is the value of this line?
We estimated that if it were to be constructed today, it's about $180,000.
I had made a motion to approve last month, but I withdrew it since people had concern. I'm gonna make another motion to approve this, and I'll say what I said last month. This really, it shouldn't be about Brunswick County or H2Go. It should be about the people who we serve, and that's what this is for. So I'll make that motion.
I'd like to second it.
Williams and Cook? Any questions?
Mr.
Yes.
I'm sorry, go.
A couple. Do we still have the capability of running water through this line? County water?
Currently?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we do.
Are there any marginal communities within that whole area that you are showing now?
Well, the area below Highway 17 is pretty extensive. I would have to go back and look and see if there are any of the low income or marginalized
Sure.
areas in there to speak
I
to
would,
that.
I would make a recommendation that we do that prior to moving forward. With giving the line away.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nichols, maybe you can explain, all we're doing is we're giving them a section of pipe that bisects Highway 17. That's all we're doing. Is that not correct?
That's correct. That yellow line that's shown there would
Right.
be providing them.
So in and of itself, it doesn't really reach communities or do anything. That was supposed to be a line that was going to feed to Brunswick Forest. So that's not going to be adversely affecting or assisting anybody. It's just a line basically under a highway is basically what we're looking at, right?
As far as I know of, the majority of that area is owned by Brunswick Forest. But I'd have to look and see if there's any marginalized communities on that side.
The other question is, if there was some kind of emergency failure, we already talked about, you just talked about fire flow, which is going to be an asset for public safety. But the other aspect is, should there be some kind of catastrophe, whereas H2Go could not operate their plant or vice versa, is there ability to be able to interconnect the two systems by means of this line?
And so there would be the ability, if it was built in, to interconnect the system. They have a line on the north side where that purple line is shown.
Right.
And so there's the potential to interconnect there. We have other locations and vaults where have been interconnected with H2Go in the past. Those vaults could be reconnected. So there are other means to provide water into H2Go.
Just for redundancy aspect. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Any other questions?
Is the blue our line that's there, or is that, and the pink color is H2Go?
So the line on the north side, adjacent to that purple line, where the yellow line connects on the north side or the upper side, would be our facility. The line below that, would be in Brunswick Forest area.
I don't think that was the question. The pink line is.
It's the
highest
blue,
and-
who owns the blue line? The
one
two
is-
blue lines you have there, who owns those?
Okay, so the blue line on the north is owned by Brunswick County. That's the main 36-inch line. So the blue line on the south is within H2Go's service area.
It's in their service area, but whose line is it?
Yeah, I understand that to be H2Go's, but
I'm with you, Pat. I'm confused too.
yeah,
The
that's.
two
H-
blue
that-
lines belong to Brunswick County. The purplish pink line, whatever you want to call that color, is H2Go.
So the blue line on the bottom is not owned by the county.
Why is this a hard question?
Uh,
What's the blue line on the north side?
3 of our
Blue line
monitors
on the
are out
north
up here.
side is-
Yeah, we don't have
Yeah.
monitors.
Yeah,
Oh.
3 of our monitors are
Look behind
giving
you,
us
though.
video errors up here.
All right, John.
Yeah.
This line.
That's I believe, a right-of-way line, but I believe that's where H2Go's main transmission line is. And so H2Go has a line on that side of the road.
This blue line,
That's the county's line.
this blue line.
That's not the county's line.
Okay.
So
You got
question,
It's
Yeah.
coming around.
What's the green line?
The green line
We threw it in there.
Mr. Chairman,
is some other utility line. Green is typically a sewer line.
Okay.
does H2Go have the capability of using that yellow line
Yes.
today?
Do they have the capability today to use it?
Yeah, can they use it?
They would have to reconnect it on the north side.
Okay, but they got to do that anyway if we give it to them.
I'm sorry.
We've got to they have to do that if we give it to them.
Yes.
So why not keep the line as a county line in case we need to use it for communities of our own? And let them have the ability to use it under a user's agreement instead of just giving them the line.
I'm sure that, something that could be
I would
considered.
rather do that than give them
mean-
the line.
I mean, be quite honest with you, my dealings over the past 10 years with H2Go is probably not a good one. And so if I give them something, I'm not expecting them to ever give it back to me. How about that? So I would vote against giving them the line, but I would certainly vote in favor of allowing them to use the line if they needed it to provide water to citizens. But I also think that we need to be looking at the communities in that area that do not have water that may be able to utilize this line as well.
If I could add, the areas on the north side, well, I guess that's actually the south side of the line there where the marker is right now. That is in Leland and or H2Go's service area. So us having a line there, unless we're going to duplicate service in an area that's in their service area, would not really allow us to provide expanded services up there because we'd just be doubling up in their service area.
And are we not going to be sending water down this line if something happens to their aquifers?
I'm sorry, say that again,
Something
sir.
happened to their water source today, would we not be utilizing this line to provide them, or they would make modifications to the line so we could provide them water in the future?
If something happened to their ability to treat water.
Yeah.
Then there are other locations where we could interconnect into their system. We have a number of vaults that interconnect. We'd have to go back in and put some components in, but we could provide them water in a general sense. Whether that water that we provided went through this line as a county-owned line or through this line as one owned by H2Go, it would have the same effect in providing that water in an emergency situation.
John, can I ask this? Just getting back to being simple about it. This is like Crawford Street.
It's longer, I get it. But that's all this is. This is just a pipe that's laying across under a road. That's all it is. This is not serving any communities. This is not something we explore for underserved areas. This is just a pipe, like, almost like a culvert, but it's buried. This is a supply line we are not using. It's not interconnected. There's other places it can be interconnected. We're not gonna be using it. We have to maintain it. It's gonna atrophy and not be used at all by anybody, except H2O. And here's the positives. As you stated, it provides additional flow for fire suppression. Am I wrong in that? Because my thinking is if this is basically just like this, but it's only longer, that's all that is. We've already stated that's either Leland, and that's H2Go's area, and this is the pipeline for H2Go. So it's just a pipe sitting underneath the highway. It's basically all it amounts to. Am I correct in that assessment without getting into the weeds?
That's correct.
Okay.
I have a question, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything in your plans where you would foresee the county using this line?
I don't foresee the county using the line. It's very unlikely.
Any other questions? Anybody else?
No, again, I don't mind them using the line. I just don't think the county ought to be giving it away.
Well, we'd have to maintain it too, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
All right. On this, I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify, and this is to give the line to H2Go. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
3-2.
Thank you.
Hey, I do have a question before you leave, if I can. Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
last week, I received numerous phone calls. And, I contacted the county manager about it, about, the water, the county water having an odor, a smell, and a bad taste. I mean, an odor to the fact that people didn't want to shower with it, didn't want to drink it. I know that there's a number of people here this evening that wants clean water. I don't think they would have been real happy with many of our residents found last week. So my question is, because I never heard back from the manager on what the cause was for that. Do we know the cause and has it been fixed?
So it's been fixed as far as the water that's leaving the plant doesn't have an odor issue associated with it. As far as what the cause was, we suspect that there was some additional organics that either came down the river or were not caught in part of the treatment process, which then results in some taste and odor issues. That doesn't mean that the water is unsafe to drink. It's still safe to drink, but unfortunately, it does have taste and odor issues associated with it.
You know, we can debate unsafe to drink for a while, because we've been dealing with that for months and months, matter of fact, years and years. But whenever you turn the tap on and you got a smell and you have to throw your ice trays out, you don't want to shower, you know, that's getting pretty bad. And for us to, today, as of this date and time, I don't recall, and maybe Megan can help me out with this, I don't recall any media release saying, hey, don't worry about the water right now. We're working on that. We're trying to fix that. The only thing that I recall is going several days with having to figure out an alternate means of water within. And now there's this trust factor that residents have that we really need to focus on this and making sure it doesn't happen again. Because a lot of people are focused on the water, and there's so many people that want our water. You know, we want to make sure that it's a good product too.
I understand. Thank you for the
And,
feedback.
and since you're standing there, what is the status on our RO?
So we are continuing working on the RO. It's about 80% complete. And contractor is working on the project. We are involved very closely with the issues associated with the project.
How about, Mr. Chairman, if I
Mhm.
can, one more time? How about us plan to have, the gentleman that came down, our engineer guy again from Raleigh, to come down and give us an update on where we're at with all this again? Cause I thought last time that, I don't know that he left feeling as good as he did whenever he walked in the door. But I think they've got some answers to give us on where the system is and where we're gonna be in the coming weeks and days. Because as far as I'm concerned, we ought to be having a system that's ready to go online pretty doggone soon. So I would make that request if we could.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Good with that.
I'm a little up to here with Oscar Renda and was it A. Smith or whatever, the engineering. Yeah, I would love for them to come to a meeting in the very near future and let us know where we stand and when can we expect this RO, which is already 2.5 years past due. I mean, at some point, I'm tired of kicking this can down the road. We're the ones getting beat up for it, not Oscar Render in Texas, and certainly not our engineering firm in Raleigh. They managed to hide pretty well.
It's inconceivable that it takes this many years to get this done.
I get it,
It's
COVID,
inconceivable.
COVID and supply chain, I get it, I'm up to here and that as well. But they just go absent, they go silent. And we're the ones taking the brunt. Yeah, I would like them here at that podium ASAP with some answers. And a date. When can we turn this switch on?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have a?
Well, we're having to fight. You guys were up there at NACO. I talked to the White House. I talked to EPA. I talked to the National Association of Counties. I talked to the White House, literally to the White House, and they talked to me about it. Now I'm talking to DEQ over it. And I've got this one thing on one side that I got to deal with. On the other side, I got RO. I've spent an absolute king's ransom to be able to put it in. Of course, the EPA gets passed because they gave them a permit. And then whatever else dumped in the water, they have to say, oh, that's on you. You know, it's not only on me, it's on all the other counties upstream. And then on the other side, we got to wade through all the permitting processes we have with respect to how we do it, as if someone downstream from us, and I don't know of anybody downstream from us other than the Atlantic Ocean, we have to wade through every single one of these things. And it's getting to be, is more than a minefield. It is infuriating. And yeah, I want them to come down here and I want them to tell us what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how they're going to do it so we can get this thing done and move on. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I want to see y'all win some more awards, but I want to see you win an award for this RO. What I'm looking for.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
I
John.
understand. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Planning Board, update on the proposed UDO text amendment. Kirsty?
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening, ma'am.
I'm here to give you an update on the proposed text amendments and kind of what has been happening with them. But first, let's go over what the text amendments are a little bit. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just a little bit of what they are. The first one is the Transportation Overlay Zone, or the TOZ for short, proposes to establish an overlay zoning district along properties on major roadways to enhance landscaping requirements and require deeper buffers for larger residential. So what this will do for larger residential, it will put the lots not right up on the road, so you can't see people barbecuing in their backyard. It pushes them off a little bit. It will change the viewscapes people see, and it will add a little bit more trees to their viewscapes and as they travel throughout the county. The second one is the tree and landscaping and green space text amendments. We've been calling it the tree text amendments for short. It's a series of 8 amendments that increase the amount of landscaping and green space required for new development. So for example, some of these are increasing open space requirements, increasing the VAD buffer, requiring each new home to have several trees, enhancing landscaping, updating definitions, and updating approved landscaping lists. And the last one is the Transportation Impact Analysis, or TIA text amendment, and it proposes to codify the timing of when a TIA is required. Per your direction, it's required prior to planning board. And we just wanted to codify it in the ordinance, so there was no questions of when, because it wasn't addressed. So planning board initially reviewed and conducted public hearings for all these 3 text amendments in May of 2024. They denied both the TOZ and the tree amendments, citing that they needed further study and consistency with the Blueprint Brunswick 2040 Comprehensive Plan. But they also discussed forming a committee to vet and review the text amendments and the public input. They also tabled the TIA text amendments to determine what type of report would be most useful in their decision-making, such as a TIA, an engineering report, or an approved NCDOT scoping. So they formed a subcommittee to review all the text amendments. So they spent the summer of 2024 reviewing and revising all 3 text amendments. They also met with the development community and gathered more public input as well. And so what changes were made to the TOZ? They made various edits, including reducing some buffer requirements, providing a reduction options for if you provide a fence, for example. In the tree, they also made changes such as reducing the number of trees required for a new home, refining open space distribution standards, and as well as incentive requirements. For the TIA, they changed the timing of the TIA to not before planning board, but to before plating, but added a requirement that there has to be an approved NCDOT scoping. So those were the changes that the subcommittee made it. So those subcommittee new versions of the text amendments went to planning board in the fall of 2024 for a public hearing and for their review. On November 12th, 2024, the planning board unanimously approved items 2, 7, and 8 of the tree text amendments. They did not take action on 1, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So those basically were to increase the VAD buffer from 50 to 75, update the approved landscaping species, as well as update the definition of heritage tree. So those were the 3 items that they recommended for approval. On December 9th, 2024, they reviewed the TOZ and the TIA. They denied the TOZ, stating that it should be incorporated into the new UDO, as well as they denied the TIA, stating that it should be incorporated into the new UDO. And along came Senate Bill 382. In November of 2024, Senate Bill 382 was moving through the North Carolina legislature and became sessional law on December 11th, 2024, right after the approval or the denials of those text amendments. This bill does not allow local governments to downzone properties, decrease densities, or reduce permitted uses, or create any type of nonconformities in a non-residential zoning district without the consent of the owner. So it really affected our text amendments. So the text amendments were paused. We consulted with legal and have not yet moved forward with the proposed text amendments because they may not comply with the new law. The most impactful text amendments and ones that everybody wants require additional landscaping and buffering, and thus for creating non-conforming site elements and downzoning. The TOC, for example, would be a downzoning. Several less impactful text amendments, such as updating definitions and lists, could potentially move forward. The TOZ could not move forward at all because it would create non-conforming and downzoning. The tree text amendment, there are portions that would be allowed, but it had to do with definitions and lists. And the TIA would be the one would likely to move forward. There are currently several bills in the General Assembly that would repeal or modify the impacts of Session Law 2024-57, but it is uncertain if these bills will advance and the timing of which that they will. Planning staff has been collaborating with InFocus to integrate portions of the 3 text amendments into the new UDO if they become allowable under law. But if the current law is not changed, elements of the current text amendment can't be included in the new UDO, and alternatives will have to be examined at that time. A draft UDO is expected to be finalized by this summer. A lot of it hinges on what happens with the session law. So here's our recommendation. The Brunswick County Code of Ordinances illustrate through the UDO the process for consideration of text amendments. Since the Board of Commissioners initiated the amendments, they have the authority to proceed or pause the process. The Planning Board has already acted on the proposed text amendments, and the next step would be for your review to consider them. But the final question lies with you. Would you like us to set up public hearings and you consider the text amendments, knowing that staff will recommend denial because it will not meet state law? Or would you like to withdraw the text amendments and instruct staff to incorporate these elements into the forthcoming UDO? Planning staff's recommendation is to incorporate them into the new UDO. We're going to have a staff version out this week for us to review. We're on the cusp of, the draft, a very draft for staff review to be done. So we're really working hard on getting that out. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions?
When is the forthcoming UDO?
We expect to have a final version by this summer. But some of it hinges on what happens with the session law.
Have we sent any letters up to the House and Senate to push this forward?
Not that I'm aware.
And why not?
The board has not so directed us.
I don't know. I think we've mentioned it several times. I've mentioned it on the phone. I know that we needed to move forward with something. Well, let's get a letter out tomorrow then to the House and the Senate to tell them that we need to move forward with this, repealing this, 382.
Anybody else?
There's some changes that the planning board did that I disagree with on these UDO changes. To me, we need to step up. I don't think we're doing our citizens justice by not getting these UDO changed so that the growth is more managed than what it is. All this clear cutting and just building straight on the highway is just crazy. And, this county has a lot of wetland, and a lot of these houses, when we have a storm, it's going to be underwater once we have another hurricane. So I hate it for the citizens that's trying to move here and buy a house and then they're flooded. So my thing is, I want to move forward to get something better for the citizens. So.
And I will state, I have spoken to the sponsor of Senate Bill 382, and I am told that it is absolutely positively going away. They knew it was an error. They've heard from everybody, and that it's going away, and it'll probably break down into 2 other bills. And I'm told that that will happen before the 4th of July. I would rather see us just pause this until they do that. Why put good money into bad when we have no idea what's going to happen with Senate Bill 382? I mean, we have a basis here, which we could always bring before us and we could debate it. I think we're spinning our wheels and we don't know what's down the road. Speaking to our own delegation, they're telling me pretty much the same thing. 382 will be gone, we'll figure it out. It just, I don't even know if it's in committee yet, but I'm assured that by 4th of July, because every year they say they're gonna be out of there for 4th of July, but meanwhile, this was done in December. So who knows? I don't remember them too often getting out of there. before the end of September over the last several years. I'd prefer to just pause it for a few months. Let's see what they do. So we know what we can do. Anybody else?
It's been my position all along that this was the type of reason we hired the consultant to do these things, and I would like to see the planning board's or the planning staff's recommendation followed.
And, and, you know, from what I just heard, the contractor, the work that they put into it can't be forthcoming because of this bill that's been filed. So I agree with Commissioner Sykes. We ought to at least reach out and send a letter saying, hey, we disagree with this. It is impacting our county. It is impacting a study that we're spending $200,000 on. So yeah, there's a financial hit for us on this one. I also agree with Commissioner Sykes. There's some things in there that, again, it's got to come back to us. So there's some, you know, I have some disagreements with some of the things that have been recommended as well. So I would support the letter, seeing how we are committed with a contractor. We've got our local delegation has said, hey, it's going to go away, but here's a letter from Brunswick County requesting that it goes away. So, I mean, I can't see where it would hurt.
And asking them to expedite it.
I think the main thing is as long as our delegation understands where we're coming from, I think that when whatever shape is with 382, that they'll understand what our concerns are and they can bring that forward. But yeah, 382 is probably dead. And so that makes it a moot issue. But I will say this, that there is perception of certain things that may or may not be accurate, because the thing is, you know, when you talk about flooding, and I'm a big proponent of trying to make sure you have, you know, every way you can to try to mitigate flooding. But, you know, we have, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that our stormwater ordinances exceed that of the state of the Fed. And, you know, people may laugh, they can laugh all they want to, but the reality is we've done things like freeboard. Am I not correct in that? We've done certain things like freeboard and different things like that.
We have an additional foot of freeboard in our flood prevention ordinance,
Not
and
even
our
required.
stormwater ordinance does qualitatively exceed the current state standards, but the state standards are very minimal.
My point being is that we've gone above that because we recognized the need was there. And we're continually doing that. So I think this will enhance it. So my point being is I'm agreeing with Mr. Forte here and what he's saying, because we need to find out, but I also state that I think that the legislative delegation needs to understand what our heart is so they can put that forward with respect to legislation.
Any other comments?
Well, you know, I'll say on my end of the county yesterday, I received 1 3/4 inches of rain. If you ride down Old Georgetown Road, I assure you that all that land that they cleared down there isn't one big retention pond, even though it looked that way today. So I would say that we have major issues when it comes to our water flow in this county. And, you know, people are going to keep coming, and they're going to keep building, and we're going to keep dealing with issues every time that there's a major event that impacts the county. And, you know, I don't know how you tell buyer beware. I don't know how that works, as an elected official. I don't know, but certainly I don't support it. And, so I think we need to do something to ensure that we're able to carry on with our UDO text amendments.
Yeah, we have two, she needs direction. So we have two choices here. We can say send a letter. I'll tell you what, I'll ask, who's in favor of sending a letter?
I'm in favor of that.
I'm in favor of sending a letter, as I stated, yeah.
There's the direction.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, procedurally, we still have quite a number of text amendments stuck between Planning Board and Board of
There
Commissioners.
ain't nothing to do.
It's my understanding the Board of Commissioners was the impetus for these text amendments. So it would be the Board of Commissioners that would ask for the amendments to be withdrawn at this time. Normally, if it's staff initiated, staff can withdraw it. But so these were started, or at least done with your discussions, so.
So what you're asking is that we withdraw these amendments temporarily till 382 is gone.
Yes, sir.
Well, it doesn't
Put
have
them into the
temporarily
UDO.
on there.
Would
Put
it
them
be to,
into the
re-
new UDO.
to refer them back to the UDO consultant? Is that,
Would that be the way to do it?
Yes, sir. To
I will make a
withdraw at
motion,
this time and incorporate it in the upcoming UDO.
I will make a motion to withdraw them at this time and send them back to the consultant to incorporate into the upcoming UDO.
He's made a motion. I'm waiting on you to
I'm
finish.
waiting on a
and
second. I'm looking.
I'll second.
Okay.
Yeah.
Williams, Cook.
Now,
Go ahead.
tell me why this is just coming up now, that we, can we act on them?
There are,
I mean, bottom line, the commissioners need to take a stand and address this issue. So can we address all of those text amendments now?
no, you cannot
Why
address
not?
all of them because according to House Bill 382, you cannot make any changes which decrease density.
Okay.
So if you increase buffers and
And all of those do that.
now, there's probably 4 or 5 that could proceed. I believe she stated they were the minor ones and not the ones
They were
that,
updating a definition, and updating the approved landscape list, minor things that aren't as impactful.
Before I vote on sending something back that we've already worked on to try to get here, I would rather see a review of them done, and the ones that can come on to us, send them to us and let us act on them. I mean, if we table these now and throw them back out, I mean, the public once again is going to be thinking that, hey, they're just not addressing any of our issues in this county.
But it's law. We're waiting for a bill to be able to pass.
He's
on
just
up.
said that not all of them are like that.
Not all of them, but that's why
Well,
we're.
then let's figure out which ones aren't and bring them to us. And then we'll address the ones that are.
yes, sir, we have a list of ones we believe would not be allowed and ones that would be allowed. And if it's the board's pleasure, we could bring the ones that would be allowed to your second meeting in April.
I would be pleasured with that.
Yeah, what?
What I don't understand is why do you have to withdraw them? Why can't they just sit until the legislature does something?
Yeah.
Why do we have to withdraw them? Where's the law that says we have to withdraw them? Can't they just sit in limbo until we get something from the state on the 382?
Technically, yes, they could sit in limbo, but then you have text amendments which have been reviewed here and then wait a significant period of time and come back up later with changed circumstances.
Well, my feelings is I would rather just put them in limbo and bring the ones you can bring to us
Mhm.
and us to vote on them. And then, the rest stay in limbo until we see what the legislature's gonna do. If I need to go to Raleigh to try to push this, I'll be glad to.
Now, right now, we have a motion and a second. Can you repeat your motion just so that we're all
My
clear?
motion was, and tell me if I got the wording right, to withdraw these and refer them back to the committee for review as part of the UDO process, which candidly is where I thought they should have been the whole time.
Everybody understand? All right, we have a motion, second, we've had discussion. Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No,
No.
3-2. All right. What a point.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do you know why we got static on the line?
No idea. You asked me, the techno genius.
Hey,
Good
hey,
move.
You know, I was thinking, you're the man in authority, so, you know,
Okay, here we go.
all right.
Okay. Here we go. Okay. We have some board appointments to make. First up is the library board. You see the names attached. Does somebody have a name that they want to put forward for this library board?
I've got a question. If,
Sure.
didn't we just vote on District One? Is that District One?
No, ma'am, it is not. It's an at-large appointment.
Okay,
There are applications from District 1, 3, 2, and 5, I believe.
I looked through the
That's where the
application.
applications.
I
are
haven't
from.
How come
looked,
all I
I
see is
haven't looked
District
through
One?
them because I thought it was District One.
Should be paid, there's a second page
It's on
for
the
that.
page too.
Continue on. There you go.
I looked through the applications. I do not know any of them personally, but we did receive several emails today from supporting Melissa Warren, who happens to be chair of the Brunswick County Literacy Council. And that does seem like that might be a good organization to have on the library board. I'll wait a moment, see if anybody else have any thoughts, but I'd be happy to make that motion if,
Anybody have another name?
Same
I
thoughts
don't, I
have.
don't know her.
I just figured it was District One. I guess I should have looked further down. So I haven't looked through them to analyze them.
Okay, my touch screen
Yeah, they're all.
isn't working for me.
In the absence of anyone else, I'll make the motion for Melissa Warren,
Bless
who I
you.
believe is from District 1.
And I would second that.
Ah,
Okay. We got Williams, Thompson, Darrell, you got that?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion? All those in favor of Miss Warren?
Bless you.
Aye.
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 Is Marty's dying over there? Okay, moving on, board appointment for the Ocean Isle Beach Planning Board ETJ appointment.
You have an opinion.
Would we pay for all of this stuff?
If my screen won't stop for a minute,
And mine's
I
not
think-
doing anything.
I think it's Ed Miller, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, Ed Mills.
That's
Yeah,
one of
Ed
them.
Mello.
And I'd recommend Ed Miller for the position.
I'll second.
There's two positions now he's going to fill. One is
Oh.
for the planning board and one is for the Board of Adjustment, ETJ. It's a combined space. It's a combined committee.
Same person doing it.
Yes, sir. Same person doing both. Yep.
Double duty.
Oh, so he's being appointed to two different boards.
Yep. Good for him.
You really appreciate it.
Bless his heart. I'll
Okay,
second the motion.
okay. So we got Thompson, Williams. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Let me write this down.
Next one's your area too.
Mhm. And are there two vacancies on the Carolina Shores?
The Carolina Shores, yes, sir. One is for the Board of Adjustments and the other is
Okay.
for the planning
ETJ.
board.
I see him now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is
Okay.
two separate people, right?
Yes, sir.
And I would recommend, make a motion for approval for both.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
This district.
I hear you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Sounded unanimous. And I believe that concludes. Okay. Other business. Mr. Manager, I know you wanted to bring something up.
Yes, sir. We've been made aware that the state of North Carolina is considering putting a boat ramp on the intercoastal waterway in the general area of Holden Beach. And I wanted to get the board's permission to talk to the state about the possibility of them buying from us the 32 acres that we own there.
You want it in the form of a motion? I'll give it to you. I make a motion that we authorize the county manager to go into discussions on a property that we currently hold possession of for a boat ramp.
I'll second.
Thompson, Williams, Darrellin,
Yes, sir.
any discussion?
Yes, the hope was to be able to get some type of nature park for the folks that live in what is referred to as Supply or the mainland area of Holden Beach for a number of years. But because of other pressing priorities, we've not been able to pursue it. I've walked it. Some people have had different perspectives on it. My hope is, and I've also talked to people locally, they would like to see a park. I'd like to see a park. But I feel like I'm in the minority regarding that. I'm not in favor of, and I need to be very clear about this, I'm not in favor of selling that property for the purchase of the land associated with the boat ramp. But I do believe that we should be able to work with the state for what monies would be available either through a grant or through any other perspectives from the state or any other party to be able to acquire that land, because a boat ramp is sorely needed. This would be parking, I understand, for 90 trailers, meaning boat trailers, and about 100 cars. There is nothing in that immediate area. There is on the island side of Holden Beach, there is a boat ramp, but that is limited. There is access at Varntown, but parking is limited. Ocean Isle Beach has a good size one. I mean, it's fairly good, but they also have one further south, I believe. So the point being is there are access areas south of Holden Beach and to the north of Holden Beach if you look at it from a geographical perspective. But the point being is it's really desperately needed in that area. And so I'm not in favor of selling the parkland. That's not the point. I am highly in favor of trying to acquire that property so we can work collaboratively with the state and with wildlife to be able to acquire the land and to be able to develop that large boat ramp and access area for the people that are in there from a recreational, commercial perspective, because it's badly needed. So I feel like I'm being pushed into a corner here. Either you're for that boat ramp and that area, but you have to get rid of the park. I'm not in favor of getting rid of the parkland, but I am in favor of trying to find out every what possible way we can to acquire it. I've talked to Representative Miller about this thing at length. I've also talked with our county manager and others. And so the point being is, I'd have to be opposed to the motion as it stands, but I'm in favor of trying to figure out what other efforts we can to be able to get that facility for the people that need it sorely in that area.
Question. It was my understanding, is this the 32 acres, the park land? Okay, because I was told it was down there at the bridge is where they were going to put the boat ramp. So is something changed in this ordeal, or?
My understanding is they're seeking property to put a ramp.
That'll be underneath the bridge. I've been told by Representative Miller it was going to be under the bridge.
I thought it was going to be under the bridge, but that wouldn't be our parkland.
No.
Because we're not under the bridge. But, so where are they really actually wanting the parkland to put this?
I don't know. What I was asking was the board's permission to talk to them and see if they would be interested in acquiring our parcel.
Okay, and this is just me, my feelings is, yes, we need to talk to them. I want to know exactly where they want to put it. If it's down there under the bridge, then we need to sell this parkland so we can help them pay for that boat ramp. Because to me, that's more important. That parkland needs to go. It's not beneficial to the county.
Right?
I know how much they need to come to the table with.
That park was purchased the year before I joined this board. And I've said it many, many times in these meetings, I would have never voted to buy that park. But we did. And it's $3.2 million that we paid for this park. My understanding is that park might not be worth $1 million today. Plus, we had some grant money that we put in to make improvements and wound up giving back some of that grant money. Which, God, you never, ever want to do. We have to figure out something equitable. If the state turns around and says, you know what, rather than us spending a couple of $1 million on land over there, you know, you're only, you could throw a rock from where your land is to under the bridge. But they gotta come up with a reasonable number. I understand we're probably gonna lose money, but I'm not prepared to lose $2.5 million on this deal. That's
Hey,
just
I'm ready
ridiculous.
to lose it all because it ain't doing nothing but sitting there. And
Related.
that's the problem. We need to use it. If it's gonna be a boat ramp, at least it's gonna be for the citizens.
We were supposed to build the boat ramp. That was the whole idea.
It's wetlands. It's all wet. I'm not even sure they would want it anyway. It's wet.
Hey, and it goes back to my first meeting. That's the meeting that I learned how to count 5. And the importance of, the importance of your numbers.
Yeah. Well, we have a motion. We have a second. We've had discussion. All those that are in favor of selling the park, please signify by saying aye.
In favor of allowing the manager.
Yes,
talk
to
the-
negotiate to
Yeah.
sell the park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay. With that, we will move into Mr. Attorney. We have a closed session.
There's other business.
Where?
Other business informal.
I
Oh,
have
okay.
something.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And I don't know if anybody else does, but I do. I found out on WCT that we're asking for bids for the Animal Adoption Center. Is that correct?
At your last meeting, you authorized the sheriff's office to proceed with an RFQ for a design build firm. And that is what WECT is reporting on.
Okay, I understood that they were coming back with a smaller design.
They are in design build, you hire a single firm both to do design and construction. So phase 1 of design build is they're gonna come back with some design alternatives. And there is a square footage amount in the RFQ, but that's a starting point. It could be half that much or twice that much. You have to put something in to get it going, but they will do a design first, which would have to be approved or disapproved by the county. And then they would give us a guaranteed maximum price for it. So it's truly, it's bundled in the RFQ, but this board would have an option to say yes or no, or go do it differently when you get a design back.
Okay, I would hope that, it was mentioned during a discussion I was having with, Commissioner Thompson, that we came up with something that, you know, it would be nice if we had a regional animal shelter, not adoption center. I think the nonprofits out there should be handling whatever they want, because when you have an adoption center, you're saying, okay, we're building this and Peter's gonna take over the adoption center. An animal shelter regional, where you have the 4 different counties come together and have one location and take in these dogs and cats or whatever, and us do it as different counties. That would be something that I think would be beneficial to the county, instead of spending all this money in all these counties for animal shelters. That's just something to consider. The other thing would be, just like the helicopter, back when we had the Sable in Wilmington, we had, Wilmington PD had the Sable, and everybody in the region was connected with the Sable, where they paid a percentage each month or each year. Well, Wilmington PD did away with that. So basically Brunswick County is the only one with the helicopter. And so if we're going to other counties, it seems like to me, maybe we should make that regional to benefit the other counties instead of us using our tax dollars to pay for everything. The other thing is the TDA. I think we need to, look at the way, the spending of that money for advertisement for our county, when I think our county has been advertised to death because we are the fastest growing. And by spending almost 3 million on advertising, we could use that money for other benefits with the county citizens. I just think it needs to be looked at, and I think, it's important to do what's best for the county, and I just, think this would be better beneficial to all our taxpayers.
Anybody else have anything?
I do. We have been, myself and I think Commissioner Sykes were assigned to the after action, committee for the last storm that passed through. And our meeting today was postponed until next month. But I would like to, so that we don't continue to drag this out, I would like to see if we could get our citizen survey out between now and our next meeting, which is, I guess, the 7th.
The 7th.
Yeah.
So if we could try to get the citizen, I don't know where we're at with that, but if we could try to get that out prior to that, so we don't lose so much time in our planning process with the recommendations coming out of the committee. And then my last or next item that I have is, we heard this evening about EMS and training hours and FTE from the college, that the college was gaining from that. Last month, we received a report from the fire administrator on the number of classes that the fire administrator teaches for the college, earning FTE as well. Years ago, we had a position, these training positions within emergency services were a combined supplemented salary between the college and the county, because the college is making money off of our our staff teaching classes, whether they're to our people or to the fire departments. And the college for many, many years paid half the salary. We were only doing it on the fire side at that particular time, but the college paid half the salary of that position that we had. Is that currently the activity taking place today?
I believe, and I will have to verify it, but I believe the current arrangement was for them to have more staff at the college, and that the dollars generated would go into the support of the training program rather than come back to us. But our staff person is indeed a instructor for the college, and I can verify that by our next meeting where the dollars are going. But my understanding was they didn't feel they really had enough administrative and instructional support for the public safety program at the college.
With the number of hours that were provided this evening, and with the number of hours that are showing on the fire administrator's report, the college is making a nice sum of money off our personnel teaching classes. And so there ought to be some kind of combined salary benefit there, so that it's a shared asset.
We'll get additional information on what's being generated and where it's going.
Very good. And Commissioner Sykes mentioned the TDA. I would like to see some additional information on how much money is going to advertise our county. And each and every year. I got a report tonight that I was looking at earlier. Everybody talks about the economic impact. We've got so many things to an economic impact for Brunswick County. Sometimes I can't imagine where the vault is with all that money in it. But it's our airport is doing great. Apparently our TDA is doing great if you look at the economic impact that they're making. And then our chambers are doing great. And then, I just don't, I can't see this vault full of all that money just yet. So I'm trying to see what's going to be beneficial for the county in the future. So any kind of report that you pull together, anything that's, if we're doing something that's identical to what they're doing in the other counties, that would be interesting to see when it comes to the TDA, just so that we have an idea of how much money is actually going in to advertising Brunswick County. Because, to be honest with you, there are so many people that already have that push pin on Brunswick County, North Carolina. I don't know that they need millions of dollars to be encouraging people to, come on down. So.
Mr. Chairman, I have something.
We done?
I'm done. I'm done.
Go ahead.
There's been a lot of discussion with respect to the TDA, and I understand where some people are coming from, but I have some personal experience from this. My family for about 41 years had a real estate company, and we had managed about 500 houses. And we found that even in hard times, we had to continue the advertising. We also found out that individuals are cyclical. The national average is about every 6 years there's a change. People change homes, or there's a change of status with respect to a family. A child may grow up, or a child, moves out of the house, or whatever it is. Individuals, get married, divorced, whatever. Some people die. But we found that continually our market was shifting. We would see that even though that they may be coming to a certain beach at some time, what happens is their desire a year or two later would change and go to the mountains, or they would go, during affluent times, they might go to places like Florida, or they might go to Bermuda, or they may go to the islands somewhere, or maybe go to Europe. However, in lean times, they would go to places closer to home. And so what we had to continually do was we had to market, and we marketed at the same place. A lot of times, sometimes we were on the road as much as 3 months out of the year. And we were doing, I think, at least 50,000 brochures in the mail, as well as web presence and everything else. And we were told by experts, don't stop it, don't slow down, keep it up, because that's the only way you stay. It's an inertial perspective. It's like a flywheel. If you don't keep it moving, it'll slow down. It's very hard to get it going again. We have some issues in the area, in so much as we have Myrtle Beach is drawing everything it can possibly do and be able to tell people that the northern area doesn't exist. And Wilmington is a big draw as well. You have the other islands that are up there as well, such as Wrightsville Beach and Carolina Beach, and then you have Figure 8, and you keep on going up to Emerald Isle and that sort of thing. But the point being is, unless you keep that name out there, another thing, a national perspective regarding advertising, is that you have to put the trademark and the name in front of someone at least 9 times before they get it. They will not get it the first time. They will not get it the second time, but after 9 times, they will. That's why you see commercials being repeated. Sometimes you'll see them back to back, or they'll have several of the same commercials. So for crying out loud, I wish they would quit showing this commercial, but the reality is they burned it into you. And so the point is, that's why the TDA keeps pressing this thing and pressing it and pressing it. So that Brunswick County is a household word, that people are moving here, but they're vacationing here initially. And then what happens, they find out how great it is. And then what they do is they end up becoming residents here. And that's what the reality is of it. That is a mechanism. It's economic development. It's a mechanism whereby you get people to be attracted to an area, to vacation, to visit, and then to eventually move here. So that point being said, it's money well spent. And I'm not in favor of drawing anything, although it would sound great. Oh yeah, we can withdraw it because everybody knows where we are. Well, of course you do, but what about the individuals that are teenagers now that are going into college, or let's say they're in college and now they have young families? It's not in their name. It's not in their word. But the reality is, if you keep that information in front of the public, what happens is that they will continue to come on down. So that being said, from my perspective, because I was an individual that did a lot of marketing, and I did it similarly to what this is being done, and I needed every bit of it that I could possibly do. So not only were they on the ground, not only were they doing the websites, I personally were at places like the state fairs and all these different places that I had to go weeks on end sometimes to be able to hand out brochures and tell them about Brunswick County, tell them about our area, and have them to come down here. So in saying all the above, I see where that money's being spent. I see why it's being spent. I'm in agreement with keeping it the way it is. So it's my 2 cents.
That was about 5 cents.
Well, I'll take a quarter.
I
And
got
it-
folding
and-
money.
And if you can find any of that, you can put that in the report that you send me.
We actually have our staff budget meeting with the TDA tomorrow, and we can ask some more questions, but Aaron was sharing with me in the current year, there's about 2.3 million of their funding that is for advertising, and the rest is for other promotional cost.
How many EMS units would that put on the street? Forget it.
Not exactly tourism dollars, though.
Well,
One-
I
one and a
looked at, I
half.
looked at the budget. I looked at their budget and I looked at where the money's going. I would say that 90%, I think they can spend, what is the percentage they can spend on administration? 10%. So, I mean, that's nothing compared to what they're spending on advertisement. When you're spending 2.5 million on advertising a county, I'm not against advertising. I mean, it could be done a different way. You could give money to the chamber and let them advertise for you. But, my thing is, that's a lot of money just to go out to advertise. So it needs to change where some of the money comes to the county to benefit the citizens.
Any other comments? Mr. Attorney, would you like me to read this or you want to lead us in?
I've got it. We can get a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143, 31811, A1 and 3 to approve closed session minutes and consult with attorney.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
I
5-minute break.
We'll be back. You want to take a 5? We've been here a while. Yeah, a couple hours.
Yeah.
Let's take 5. Everybody could do a bio break.
You want
Annual physical.
Everybody good here, so we can go home? Mr. Attorney,
Yes, sir. Nothing to report from closed session.
thank you so
Move
much.
to adjourn.
Second.
I didn't even get to ask. I have a motion, a second. All those
Aye.
in favor, stand up, let's go.
All right already.